Our world, a vast and intricate tapestry of life and history, is teeming with stories that defy belief. We often traverse our daily lives unaware of the sheer strangeness that lies just beneath the surface, hidden in the annals of time or in the shadows of the natural kingdom. Today we embark on an extraordinary expedition, not to the highest mountains or the deepest oceans, but into the very fabric of the bizarre. We will peel back the veneer of the ordinary to reveal a universe of facts so peculiar, so humorous, and so utterly shocking that they will reshape your understanding of what is possible. Prepare yourselves for a voyage into the wonderfully weird. This is a curated collection of curiosities, a grand tour of the planet's most bewildering phenomena. So settle in and allow your curiosity to guide you through this cabinet of wonders. Get ready for 100 of the most bizarre, funny, and shocking facts you never knew you needed. The animal kingdom, in its infinite complexity, is a theater of the most peculiar dramas. Consider, if you will, the wombat. A sturdy, unassuming marsupial native to Australia, it possesses a digestive system of remarkable geometric prowess. This creature, through processes we are only just beginning to comprehend, produces feces that are distinctly cube-shaped. Elsewhere, in the vast oceans, we find the sea otter, a mammal known for its playful demeanor and dense, luxurious fur. To prevent themselves from drifting apart from their companions while they slumber, they hold hands. This touching gesture creates a raft of otters, a linked community bobbing gently in the currents. The male pufferfish engages in one of the most elaborate romantic gestures found in nature. To attract a mate, he spends weeks carving vast, intricate circular patterns into the sandy seabed. These mesmerizing sand mandalas, often spanning several meters in diameter, are masterpieces of ephemeral art. The female pufferfish will inspect these creations with a critical eye, and only if the design is suitably impressive will she choose him as her partner. And what of the humble squirrel? We see them as frantic hoarders of nuts, but their memory is not as infallible as one might think. It is estimated that squirrels forget the location of up to half the nuts they bury each year. These forgotten caches of seeds inadvertently become nurseries for new trees, making the squirrel one of the most effective, albeit accidental, foresters on the planet. The history of what we eat is a journey into the very heart of human culture, and it is a history filled with surprising and sometimes shocking tastes. In ancient Rome, one of the most prized and expensive condiments was garum, a fermented liquid made from the intestines, blood, and other viscera of fish. And yet this fish gut sauce was a staple of Roman cuisine, used in everything from appetizers to desserts, a symbol of wealth and sophisticated taste. Moving forward in time to the Victorian era in England, we encounter a rather morbid fascination with confectionery. Among the most popular and unsettling of these creations were funeral biscuits, specially made cookies, often wrapped in paper printed with poems or images of skulls and skeletons. They served as a sweet, edible memento of the deceased, a peculiar tradition that blended grief with gastronomy in a way that seems utterly bizarre to the modern palate. Ketchup, now a ubiquitous tomato-based condiment, has a history that is entirely unrecognizable. The original ketchup from 17th century China was not made from tomatoes at all, but was a fermented fish sauce. When English traders brought the recipe home, they adapted it with ingredients like mushrooms, walnuts, and oysters. It wasn't until the early 19th century in America that tomatoes were introduced to the recipe, transforming the savory, fishy concoction into the sweet and tangy sauce we know and love today. Perhaps one of the most startling food fads in history was the belief that consuming mummified human remains could cure various ailments. From the Middle Ages well into the 19th century, a substance called mumia, ground up ancient Egyptian mummies, was sold in apothecaries across Europe as a legitimate medicine. This practice of medicinal cannibalism stands as a chilling reminder of how desperation and superstition can profoundly shape our relationship with what we consume. Human ingenuity is a force of relentless and often bewildering experimentation. Consider for a moment the peculiar challenge of smoking in the rain, a problem met not with abstinence, but with the umbrella cigarette holder, a truly remarkable if somewhat flawed adaptation designed to protect a lit cigarette from the elements. a miniature marvel of misguided focus, demonstrating our species' deep-seated desire to solve problems, no matter how trivial. In the 1930s, Londoners living in high-rise apartments faced a dilemma: how to provide their infants with fresh air and sunlight. The solution? A wire cage, patented and sold, designed to be suspended from a window, allowing the baby to be aired out like a piece of laundry. It seems a horrifying prospect to the modern observer, yet it was born from a genuine, if terrifyingly misguided, concern for child welfare. Then there are the inventions born not of necessity, but of pure, unadulterated whimsy. The motorized ice cream cone, for example. This device promised to eliminate the arduous, wrist-straining labor of manually rotating one's cone to ensure an even lick, a solution to a problem that arguably never existed, a monument to our species' desire to automate even the most simple of pleasures. And so, the patent offices of the world are vast mausoleums, filled with the ghosts of these forgotten marvels. From spectacles for chickens designed to prevent them from pecking one another, to the isolator helmet, a terrifying brass contraption that blocked out all sight and sound for ultimate focus. These inventions are fossils of human thought, the coelacanths and trilobites of our technological history, bizarre, fascinating, and ultimately doomed. Beyond the world of verifiable fact lies another realm, sculpted not by geology or evolution, but by fear and the fertile soil of the human imagination. Consider the legend of the black-eyed children. A knock at the door late at night. Outside stand one or two children, often pale, speaking in a monotone, asking to be let in. They need to use the telephone, or perhaps they need shelter from the cold. But there is something deeply unsettling about them, an aura of profound wrongness that chills the blood. And then you see their eyes. Not the eyes of a child, but solid, soulless, pitch-black orbs devoid of sclera or iris. They are predators, masquerading in the most innocent of forms. The narrative power of the legend lies in this terrible conflict. To deny them entry feels cruel, monstrous even, yet to let them in is to invite an unknown, unknowable horror into the sanctity of one's home. The legend of Slender Man, a tall, faceless figure in a black suit who stalks and abducts people, particularly children, was born not in an ancient village, but on an internet forum. Yet he serves the same function as the bogeyman or the troll under the bridge. He is a warning, a manifestation of the nameless dread that can lurk in the digital wilderness just as easily as it once did in the primeval forest. They are stories we tell ourselves to make sense of the darkness. History is often presented as a grand, orderly procession, but the truth is often far messier, more chaotic, and frankly, more absurd. Take, for example, the Great Emu War of Australia in 1932. Following the First World War, veteran soldiers were given land to farm, only to find their wheat crops being systematically devastated by a population of some 20,000 emus. The farmers petitioned the government for military aid. And so, the Royal Australian Artillery was deployed, armed with Lewis machine guns, to declare war on a species of large, flightless bird. What followed was not a decisive victory for humanity, but a masterclass in humiliation, as the birds proved to be surprisingly resilient and tactically brilliant guerrilla fighters. The emus could run at incredible speeds and would cleverly split into small groups when fired upon, rendering the machine guns largely ineffective. After several weeks of fruitless pursuit and a colossal expenditure of ammunition for very few casualties, the army withdrew in disgrace. The birds had won. There was the Tanganyika laughter epidemic of 1962, where a fit of giggles in a school for girls spiraled into a mass hysterical phenomenon. It lasted for months, forcing the closure of schools and affecting over 1,000 people. There are moments when the collective human mind simply seems to short-circuit. These are societal glitches, brief, baffling interruptions in the normal programming of human behavior. Here, in the vast, silent theater of the deep, life and death perform their eternal ballet. For nearly every creature on this planet, the cycle is absolute. But what if one creature had found a way to rewrite this rule? This is the extraordinary story of Turritopsis dohrnii, the immortal jellyfish. When faced with environmental stress, starvation, or physical damage, it performs a miracle. It does not simply die, Instead, it initiates a process of biological alchemy, returning to its earliest stage of development. This process, known as transdifferentiation, is one of nature's most profound magic tricks. The adult jellyfish sinks to the ocean floor, its cells transforming and reverting to a more primitive state. They reorganize themselves into a polyp, a stalk-like structure that is the jellyfish's juvenile form. It is the biological equivalent of a butterfly turning back into a caterpillar. From this polyp, new, genetically identical jellyfish will eventually bud, ready to begin the cycle anew. In theory, this cycle of rejuvenation could repeat endlessly, granting the Turritopsis dohrnii a form of biological immortality. While humanity searches for elixirs and grapples with its own mortality, this humble, gelatinous creature has quietly achieved what we can only dream of: the ability to simply begin again and again and again. It has discovered a cellular fountain of youth, a way to perpetually reset its own biological clock. It is not immune to being eaten by a predator or succumbing to a sudden catastrophic event, but it is immune to dying of old age. History is not always a grand narrative of kings and empires. Sometimes, it is a tapestry woven with threads of the bizarre, the inexplicable, and the utterly surreal. In the summer of 1518, in the city of Strasbourg, a strange and terrifying phenomenon took hold. It began with a single woman, Frau Trophäa, who stepped into a narrow street and began to dance. There was no music, no celebration, just a silent, compulsive movement that she seemed utterly unable to control. Within a week, her solo performance had drawn a crowd, not of spectators, but of participants. Dozens more had joined her, their bodies seemingly possessed by the same relentless rhythm. The city authorities consulted physicians, who diagnosed the affliction as a case of hot blood. Their prescribed cure was not rest, but more dancing. And so, the authorities facilitated the plague. They cleared open spaces, erected a wooden stage in the grain market, and even hired musicians to provide a soundtrack for the unfolding horror. The number of dancers swelled from dozens to over 400. For days on end, they danced under the summer sun, their bodies racked with spasms, their feet bloodied and raw. They were trapped in a waking nightmare, their limbs moving against their will in a grotesque parody of joy, a dance unto death. The streets of Strasbourg had become an open-air asylum, a stage for a macabre marathon from which there was no escape. The dancing plague remains one of history's most baffling medical mysteries. The 1970s was a decade of cultural upheaval, and from this crucible of creativity and chaos emerged one of the most brilliantly absurd and successful fads in modern history. An advertising executive named Gary Dahl was listening to his friends complain about pet ownership trials. And in that moment of shared grievance, a truly remarkable idea was born. Dahl began to joke about his own perfect pet, a rock. It required no food, no water, no exercise. It would never get sick, run away, or die. The execution was nothing short of masterful. Each rock came nestled on a bed of straw within a custom cardboard box, complete with breathing holes, just like a real pet carrier. The masterstroke was the accompanying manual, a witty 32-page booklet titled The Care and Training of Your Pet Rock, offering detailed instructions on how to teach the rock to sit, stay, and roll over. It was a masterpiece of deadpan humor that elevated a simple stone into a cultural phenomenon, perfectly capturing the zeitgeist of the era. Launched in 1975, the pet rock became an overnight sensation. For a brief, glorious period of about 6 months, America was captivated. Dahl sold over 1 million pet rocks for $4 each, becoming a millionaire almost overnight. The pet rock stands as a testament to the power of a simple idea, brilliantly executed. It proved that with the right story and a healthy dose of humor, one could sell anything, even a humble, silent stone from a Mexican beach. In the vast tapestry of human governance, one finds many systems. Yet, in the quiet community of Cormorant, Minnesota, the political landscape took a rather unconventional turn. The townsfolk decided to eschew the complexities of human leadership, instead placing their trust in a candidate whose platform consisted primarily of loyalty, affection, and an unwavering commitment to greeting every visitor with a wagging tail. This political pioneer was a great Pyrenees by the name of Duke. He was a familiar figure, a gentle giant patrolling the town with a serene dignity that many a human politician could only dream of possessing. His campaign was entirely grassroots, built not on promises of economic reform, but on the simple, undeniable fact that Duke was, by all accounts, an exceptionally good boy. The election was a charitable affair, each vote costing a single dollar, with the proceeds going to a local event. And so the people spoke, their dollars casting ballots for a new kind of leader. Duke's inauguration was a far less formal affair than those held in grand capitals. One can picture a gathering of cheerful residents, a celebratory atmosphere filled with pats on the head and perhaps a few well-deserved treats. For an annual salary consisting of a year's supply of high-quality kibble, Duke assumed the mantle of honorary mayor. His duties were clear: to be a symbol of unity, a furry ambassador for the town, and to remind everyone that sometimes the best leader is one who listens more than they speak. For several terms, Mayor Duke served his constituency with distinction. He oversaw a period of unprecedented peace and very low political scandal, demonstrating that leadership can come in many forms. Across the rugged landscapes of the Americas, a whisper travels on the night wind. It speaks of a creature of the shadows, a predator unlike any other, known by a name that translates to the goatsucker, El Chupacabra. This cryptid first emerged into public consciousness in the mid-1990s in Puerto Rico. Its arrival was heralded by a string of bizarre and unsettling livestock deaths, forever changing the folklore of the region. The initial reports painted a truly terrifying picture. Eyewitnesses described a bipedal creature standing 3 to 4 feet tall, with large, glowing red eyes and grayish-green skin. It moved with a strange, hopping gait and possessed formidable claws and fangs. But the most disturbing detail was its method of feeding. It was said to drain its victims, typically goats and other small livestock, completely of their blood, leaving behind only a few small puncture wounds on the neck as evidence of its ghastly work. As the legend spread, so too did the sightings, and the creature's appearance began to evolve in the telling. A second distinct version started to emerge, particularly in the southwestern United States and northern Mexico. This iteration was less alien, more canine, described as a strange, hairless, dog-like animal. Science offers a more prosaic explanation. Biologists point to known predators like coyotes and diseases such as sarcoptic mange, which can drastically alter an animal's appearance. Yet the legend persists, tapping into a primal fear of the unknown predator lurking just beyond the firelight. Here on the vast, sun-scorched plains of Western Australia, a conflict of epic proportions once unfolded. It was not a battle between nations, but a struggle between man and beast. The year was 1932. For the farmers of the Campion district, a new enemy had emerged, a legion of 20,000, marching with relentless purpose toward cultivated land and abundant water. The emu, a creature of remarkable resilience and surprising intellect, had discovered a paradise amidst the struggles of the Great Depression. The farmers watched in despair as their livelihoods were devoured by this feathered horde. Their pleas for assistance reached the highest levels of government. In an extraordinary response, the Minister of Defense, Sir George Pierce, sanctioned a military operation. This was not to be simple pest control. This was to be a war. The Royal Australian Artillery was deployed, armed with 2 Lewis machine guns and 10,000 rounds of ammunition. Major Meredith was given command, leading a small contingent into the fray. The soldiers anticipated a swift victory. How could a bird stand against modern weaponry? But they had profoundly underestimated their adversary. These were cunning strategists, each flock commanded by a tall, black-plumed leader who would watch for danger and issue silent warnings, turning to face the enemy until its comrades found safety. After weeks of fruitless pursuit and colossal ammunition expenditure for very few emu casualties, the army withdrew in disgrace. The birds had won, standing as a powerful reminder that humanity's dominion over nature is often more hopeful suggestion than established fact. From the theater of war, we journey to a quieter corner of human endeavor. Here we find a monument not of stone or steel, but of humble, elasticated rubber. This is the world's largest rubber band ball, a testament to patience, dedication, and a peculiar form of creative expression. It began with a simple idea: a single rubber band looped around another. From this small beginning, an obsession grew. a daily ritual of adding, stretching, and weaving. It is a slow, methodical process of creation. The creator spent years meticulously adding to his creation. Day after day, he would collect rubber bands from mail deliveries, newspapers, and office supply stores. Each one was carefully inspected before being incorporated into the growing mass. It is a form of nest building, perhaps, an instinct shared with the bowerbird. And so it sits today in a museum, a roadside attraction that draws curious visitors from far and wide. They come to witness this marvel of persistence, to touch its springy surface and ponder the mind that conceived it. Is it art? Is it madness? Or is it simply a bit of fun? Perhaps it is all three. It serves as a playful reminder that human creativity knows no bounds, that inspiration can be found in the most mundane of objects. In a world often preoccupied with grand, serious pursuits, there's something profoundly joyful about a monument dedicated to the simple, stretchy, and endlessly entertaining rubber band. A truly remarkable achievement in the grand tapestry of human oddity. Our journey through the strange and bewildering landscapes of our world must, for now, come to an end. We have traveled from battlefields where man waged war against bird, to quiet workshops where monuments were built from rubber bands. We have witnessed the bizarre, the hilarious, and the utterly shocking, peeling back the layers of the ordinary to reveal the extraordinary that lies just beneath. The planet and its inhabitants are a source of endless fascination, a vast and complex tapestry, woven with threads of the peculiar and the profound. We have seen that history is not always a grand and solemn affair, but is often a chaotic comedy of errors. We have learned that nature's creations are frequently more resourceful and more resilient than we could ever imagine. And we have discovered that human creativity is a wonderfully unpredictable force, capable of producing both magnificent art and delightfully absurd novelties. The world is a museum of wonders, filled with exhibits that challenge our understanding and tickle our sense of humor. It is a reminder that the line between genius and madness, between the epic and the ridiculous, is often wonderfully and beautifully blurred. Thank you for joining us on this expedition into the weird and the wonderful. The stories we have shared are but a small sample of the strangeness this world has to offer. We hope it has sparked your curiosity and encouraged you to look at the world around you with new eyes, to question the mundane and to celebrate the eccentric. There is wonder to be found everywhere, from the behavior of the smallest insect to the grand, strange ambitions of humankind. The narrative of our planet is one that is constantly unfolding, with new, unbelievable chapters being written every single day. If you have enjoyed this exploration, do consider showing your support by liking this video and subscribing for more journeys into the unknown. We would be delighted to hear about your own favorite bizarre fact, so please share it with us in the comments below. Let us continue to build this collection of curiosities together. Until our paths cross again on another adventure, stay curious, and remember, the world is even stranger than you think. There is always more to discover, just around the corner, waiting patiently for a curious mind to find it.